Happy Wiggle. Happy Wiggle. He's a klutzy moron, but he knows some stuff about hockey. Subscribe.
And that is why I'm holding the Make Me a Theme Song contest.
I know I said I was going to get this video up earlier, but life happens. The more I wait, the more stuff happens, so I just gotta record this now and get it over with. There is only one way to describe this free agency period so far, that is free agent sanity. Frenzy. Yeah, let's go with frenzy. Free agent frenzy! Now I realize that none of the big name free agents I mentioned in my off-season predictions video signed with the Leafs, but I would still call this a success for the Leafs so far. First, let's take a look at the entire league before we get to the Leafs. First, we go to Ottawa. So, Murray's trying to ship Danny Heatley out of town, and he thinks he's got a pretty good deal in place with Edmonton. So, he thinks the situation is resolved, he's got to take her, so he notifies Danny Heatley, who quickly uses his no-trade clause. His song quickly changes from "Trade to
Well, I want to trade, but not to the Edmonton Oilers. Come on!
This just proves what I've been saying. Heatley's a chump. He thinks he's got a sweet deal in Ottawa, then Ottawa misses the playoffs, and suddenly the deal's not so sweet. So, he wants to go to a winning team, and in his view, Edmonton doesn't fit that criteria.
If you ask for a trade, take the trade. You can't demand a trade and then give it a list of teams to be traded to. It doesn't work like that.
So with the Sens on the hook for his $4 million bonus, it looks like Heatley is doomed to another season in Ottawa. So a question to Sens fans. Would you be able to accept him back?
Kind of brings back memories of Alexei Yashin, doesn't it?
I mean, he publicly says he wants out of your city, then he rejects a trade that would move him. From what I hear, he's public enemy number one, and it's going to be interesting to see if his teammates can accept him back. This drama is far from over in Ottawa. It is just beginning. For the few Habs fans who watch me, let's check in on the situation in Montreal. The Habs shake things up in a major way by not renewing the contracts of Koivu, Kovalev, Lang, Komisarek, Tanguay, and many, many others. This leaves a lot of questions in Montreal. The main one being, who's going to be the next captain? Now, I've heard some people say Markov. I've even heard Latendresse. I've heard one of the Kostitsyn brothers. But if you want my opinion,
and I know you do,
just do what the Leafs did. Don't nominate a captain until one emerges as a leader. I realize the Habs have never done that before, but also the Habs have never gone this long without winning a cup before. I mean, the Habs, since their inception, have won a Stanley Cup in every single decade until now. The last one they won was 16 years ago, and change is needed in Montreal. Their team needs an overhaul after such a disappointing end to the 100th season, and in my opinion, Gainey also needs to go. I mean, it's clear that he just doesn't have what it takes to build a winner. Anyway, let's look at their new arrivals. The Habs get the only Mexican-Alaskan hockey player, Scott Gomez, from the New York Rangers, Brian Gionta from the New Jersey Devils, and from the Calgary Flames, Mike Camilleri. Now, I really wanted Camilleri, so I think they made a good move in acquiring him. The question is, will that trio make up for the departure of Koivu, Kovalev, Tanguay, and the host of others that have just been involved in the mass exodus from Montreal? Now, it's possible that these moves could turn out well for Montreal, but in my opinion, it looks like this could be a major flop. They lost a lot of talent, the core of the team, to free agency. And yes, an overhaul was needed, but when you're letting go of some of your best players, I'm not sure you're doing what's best for the team, especially when you're trading away your captain for over a decade. So now, with the drama going on in Ottawa and Montreal, it looks like the Canadian team in the Eastern Conference that's going to do the best next year is going to be the Leafs.
You heard it here first!
Anyway, the only way to figure out how the Montreal situation is going to work out is when we see them on the ice in October. And now for a little Canuck news. The Sedin twins re-sign in Vancouver just before the trade deadline. And I know that I said these guys were the free agents I most wanted to see in TO because they are elite level hockey players and vastly underrated. But it turns out that they want to stay in Vancouver, their home for their entire NHL career so far. They signed a 5-year deal for approximately $6.1 million a season, a lot more attractive than their original 12-year $63 million deal they were asking for, which made a lot of people skittish. Now, to touch on the Leafs in this situation, this has got to suck for Burke. He personally makes the trip to Sweden to pursue Gustafsson, we'll get to him later, and to make an offer in person to the Sedins on July 1st. But they signed before free agency, and Burke never even gets a chance to table an offer to the players he arranged to draft together in Vancouver. But I guess that's the way the ball bounces. In another piece of Canuck news that I found interesting, former Leaf Andrew Raycroft signs a 1-year $500,000 deal to be the backup to Roberto Luongo in Vancouver. Now, fellow Leaf fans, let me talk to you for a second. What do you think of this? I mean, I know it doesn't affect us, but we know from experience, this guy is terrible. Raycroft believes he can have a bounce-back season, so we'll just have to see how he does playing backup for Luongo. So, good luck, Raycroft, and Canuck fans, good luck dealing with this train wreck.
At least you don't have him as your starter.
On to another Western Canadian NHL team that apparently Danny Heatley does not like, the Edmonton Oilers. And in something that surprised me, they signed Nikolai Khabibulin, the Bulin Wall, who just tended net for the Chicago Blackhawks. He signs in Edmonton for a 4-year deal for $15 million. And this has got to help the Oilers after losing Dwayne Rollison to the Islanders. This also leaves a major question mark for the Blackhawks. I mean, without Khabibulin backstopping them, I don't know if the Blackhawks would have advanced as far in the playoffs as they did. I mean, Khabibulin really stepped up and stole some games for them in the playoffs, and I don't know if Huet will be able to carry the load as number one. He was pretty good in Montreal, but let's face it, he's not as good as Khabibulin, not by a long shot. And the last Canadian team I'm going to talk about, after trading for his rights, the Calgary Flames signed Jay Bouwmeester. He signs to a 5-year deal for approximately $6.8 million a year. This signing makes the Flames' defense a lot scarier. They now have Regier, Phaneuf, and Bouwmeester. They pretty much have Team Canada's defense corps. I'm not going to lie, I really wanted this guy. But I didn't think we had a chance when reports were saying he wanted to sign in an American market. So his signing in Canada really leaves me scratching my head. The last piece of news before I want to talk about the Leafs, former Leaf Nikolai Antropov signs in Atlanta for $16 million over 4 seasons. Now I know Antropov has had 50 points over his last few seasons, but $4 million? Neither Burke nor Sather were willing to pay that much, but apparently Atlanta was. Which means if he doesn't work out in Atlanta, they are trapped with an average forward with a massive contract. Good luck, Thrashers. That does it for part 1 of my Free Agent Frenzy videos. To watch part 2 where I talk about the Leafs, click the video response below. I'm trying to stop making these multi-part videos, I'm sorry. There's just so much to talk about this off-season, I can't contain myself. Anyway, click the response. In Season 2, we'll try and stop with this whole multiple video nonsense.